Hi, my name is Ameen Soleimani. I'm the CTO of Oxbow, and happy to be here on this interview.
Hi, Ameen.
Hello.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
For the context, we are at Devcon day 3, almost over actually. And we are just discussing stuff and privacy.
Yeah, a lot of privacy projects here. Very cool.
Yeah. So we'll talk about it later, but for people who don't know you a lot, can you just say like a few minutes of your personal story, how you ended up where you are and where you are?
Hi, my name is Ameen Soleimani. I'm the CTO of a company called Oxbow. We build privacy pools. It's on-chain privacy, but without the terrorists. I've been building smart contracts for close to 10 years. I worked at ConsenSys back in the days, the largest startup in Ethereum, built MetaMask, Gnosis, Infura, a bunch of other things. Went from there, built some payment startups, built a stablecoin startup called Rye, and built some DAOs, MolochDAO, and some others around that, and now mostly focus on privacy.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So why do you focus on privacy that much? Is it personal, or you just think it's important? Is there any backstory behind that?
Sure. It's a little bit of both. So I was the summoner, or one of the co-founders of MolochDAO. This was in 2019. MolochDAO gave all of the initial grants for Tornado Cash because we, as Ethereum nerds, were very jealous of Zcash. We thought it was really cool that they had private payments, and we were, kind of jealous because we thought it was silly that every time we send money to anybody, they can see our whole transaction history. I can see how much money they're making, and we didn't want that. And so we figured out how to get Tornado Cash going. We gave them some grants. They shipped a great product, and initially it seemed like everything was going fine, and then only later did it become a problem. Initially ETH was $100, and then later ETH was $4,000, and then North Korea hacked a video game for $500 million and started running hundreds of millions of dollars, allegedly through Tornado Cash. And then the program got sanctioned, and the developers were imprisoned and are now awaiting trial. Alexey in the Netherlands and Roman Storm in America, in the US. So why privacy? One, because we want to build the thing that we originally had, which was something like, Tornado Cash, but fix the problem. And part of the problem was that we didn't realize the extent to which, terrorists might want to try and use these tools. And them using these tools got this program sanctioned by the US government, and it makes it harder for everybody else to use the tools to get their money accepted. And so being able to kick them out and have, privacy for the good guys, so to speak, allows individual users to benefit more from privacy systems than otherwise. And then secondly, we're trying to promote a narrative of privacy is for the good guys, and it always has been. And the Tornado Cash team, actually, not enough people know this, they built a compliance tool themselves where you could actually use the secret note that you get when you deposit that you need in order to withdraw, and you can prove which specific deposit belonged to you. And so that allowed you to, identify yourself, so to speak, to a regulated financial institution. And there was a whole central plan of how to get this thing regulated. And then the sanctions basically threw all that out, because then the whole thing was just banned. And so one of the lines that the judge in Alexey's case said, for example, was that there's no positive use case for privacy. And I think that is a perception that is really important to change. And so we have to build products that are useful enough for everyday people so that the world understands that privacy is not just for criminals. And if you ban privacy, then you make it so only criminals have privacy. And that's not what we want.
100%. Thanks for reminding, by the way, about the Tornado Cash case for people who don't know. But what's the current state of it, if people don't follow?
Sure.
Because it's been a lot of
it's been
news, but
it's been
like,
2 years. Yeah. So Alexey has already served close to 1.5 years because he lost his case. He was sentenced to 5 years, and so he's only out right now. He's out on like house arrest, right? So he's got an anklet. He can go around Amsterdam, but can't like leave the Netherlands or anything. So he has an appeal trial that is pending. I think that'll probably be early next year. Roman, his trial is coming up in, I think, about a month, and it'll be in New York. And so he's once again fundraising for his trial legal defense. And so if you have the means and you're interested, please go to freealexeyroman.com or wewantjusticedao.com. And those two link to the legal fundraising effort.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I hesitate to be too optimistic. Trump got elected. There's some positive things, right? Like the Department of Justice submitted a memo that said, hey, we shouldn't hold blockchain developers legally liable for the crimes of the users of their platforms. And then the Department of Justice, the prosecution in the case is like, yeah, we're going to keep going, right? So it's like, it reminds you that the government is not like one group. It's like its own battlefield, and you're trying to, work with the people that you can work with inside to try and get the best outcomes possible, both for Roman and for privacy law, both for developing privacy tools and for using privacy tools.
Yeah, you mentioned it a bit about like good and bad people.
Yeah,
which is really hard to define what's good and bad. But like, if we don't go deeper into that and like keep this black and white mentality, like, do you think is it even possible to like exclude terrorists off chain? Like, the thing and how we can do that?
I think, there's some people that are like, I don't know, a little defeatist about this, that I don't buy it, because you can, like, let's say it was very hard to figure out who they were. At the very least, you can see the on-chain hacks and the money that's been stolen and that you know about, and you can exclude that, right? And so I still think it's worth it to be able to say, hey, look, like, I'm not going to help give or get privacy from the people who stole money from my friends' DeFi protocols. I think that's worth doing. I don't think you're going to get like every tax evader, drug dealer, the authorities would have to work pretty hard to notify blockchain developers through analytics tools like Chainalysis and whatever about those addresses being not, good for to take money from or associate with. But that's not that's something that the authorities have to contribute to helping with.
Okay. And can you explain a bit about the Oxbow? Like, what's that and why it's important? So
the whole idea of good and bad, somebody has to be the judge of what is good money, bad money. And so the way privacy pools works is that Oxbow, our company, plays a role as the maintainer of the whitelist of approved deposits. And so we periodically publish an updated list. Whenever you deposit into privacy pools, there's a waiting period. So you might wait 1 day up to 7 days. And during that time, we're looking back your transaction history, seeing where you got your money, and do we accept the source of funds? And so if it's something like a reputable exchange, KYC, something like Coinbase, we'll probably accept it. If it comes from like a known ENS, lots of activity, then we'll also probably accept it. If it comes from like a sketchy, no KYC, cross-chain thing, we probably won't. And if it comes from other privacy protocols that aren't up to our standards of excluding bad actors, then we also won't. And if it comes from obviously like known hacks and stuff, we won't accept it either. And so when your money is approved, then you can, and only then can you withdraw privately. And so then you are part of the set of users that were accepted onto the whitelist. And if you don't get accepted, you can withdraw your money back to your original address. So we never control anybody's money. We can't freeze any money. We can't steal any money. The contract is immutable that holds all the money, and the users can take their money back to where they, deposited it from at any time without our permission. So that's helps it be a non-custodial system, which also means we're not necessarily a money services business. So we're not trying to do like KYC. And honestly, I don't think KYC is good enough because I don't really care what ID you show me if I see that the money came from like a DeFi hack. So you still need to make sure that the money didn't come from the DeFi hack. Yeah.
Privacy is a base layer.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that? Like, can you imagine?
It's ambitious. I can imagine it. I'm a little bit like in awe of how crazy it's like a big update. All Ethereum would go private. Privacy by default. I'm also horrified because we kind of played this game. We beat this game. Like nobody anticipated that like North Korea was going to come out and start being a power user of the system. And so I think we should just not be naive today and learn from history. And so I think I would be very excited about that kind of proposal if it also allowed for people to voluntarily dissociate, maybe using something like Oxbow, from some of the users that are using that. And the hard part about that is that it makes everything on Ethereum part of the anonymity set. Every time anybody sends Ether, like specifically there's certain EIPs that implement base layer privacy, and the one that seems to have the most traction is the one where if I send ETH to a fresh address, it may or may not be a deposit into a privacy system. And so when I do that deposit, from the outside world, it looks like I just sent ETH to a fresh address. But later, I can prove that that was one of the privacy system addresses and withdraw that money in a way that nobody then can know which of the deposits it corresponded to. And so what it means that the complexity of building a approved set of whitelists for this is much harder because you have to monitor literally every single send on Ethereum.
Yeah, and that's very ambitious.
So it's a lot of work. I think if privacy pools works for a couple of years first in production, then maybe we'll scale up to something like that. And that would be, I think, a more, risk-aware version of making this.
So can you expand a bit on privacy pools? Because I know that you've been involved. Like, what's that? Starting from what's that?
Right.
And why it's there, and what's the roadmap of that?
Yeah. So privacy pools was an idea that Vitalik had after the Tornado Cash sanctions in 2022. And he had the idea that we can actually allow people who withdraw from a Tornado Cash-like system to prove against a smaller set of the deposits. And so I helped make a prototype of the system at ETHDenver in 2023, and then wrote a paper with Vitalik in mid-2023 about this. And the idea of the paper just describes, how that could work. And then we started Oxbow as a company to implement the system. And so like, in the idea of the paper, it was more of like a neutral protocol, kind of a free-for-all. Users would be able to provide their idea, their set of the deposits that they would like to be associated with. And so you could have multiple different groups of users all using the same system, right? You could have like, the world deposit, and then I prove against that I'm in compliance with the practices of like, different European countries, right? I could say I am compliant with Switzerland's whitelist of deposits. I'm compliant with the US's, and those could have overlap, and that has some network effects that it improves the anonymity sets of everybody. But the system that Oxbow is building is not that yet, because our lawyers asked us, they said, hey, look, does this, permissionless, credibly neutral version that you and Vitalik wrote about, if the criminals do not make it onto your association set, doesn't that mean that they have a privacy system amongst themselves? And that was like, yes. And they're like, can you make it not do that? I said, yes. And so the way it works today is that we manage the approved deposit whitelist as a company. There's only one, and you have to follow ours. And if you don't follow ours, you can go back to your original address. Maybe one day. I think this is kind of the 0 to 1 approach. Like first you just make the system that works, and then a bunch of people will complain like, oh, why don't I get to choose the list? And then we're like, great, now let's make 10 lists and let everybody choose. And but I think the path is through one system that works. And our plan is to, right now it's on mainnet. Go to privacypools.com. You can deposit your ETH. We're adding ERC20 support, and we'll go cross-chain to other EVM systems soon.
Okay, and maybe you can expand a bit on like the general roadmap of Ethereum for the next 10 years. Like, how do you see that, and what problems do you see and challenges as well?
I don't know, man. Ethereum over 10 years is this is far above my pay grade.
I know. That's a tricky one.
Let's be glad it's not my job.
I mean, it's hard to predict this world in for 1 year, like. So I know that it's
I guess like layer 1 will scale more, people will figure out the layer 2 cross-chain UX, wallets will get better, layer 2s will get faster and cheaper, zero knowledge systems will improve, so the proving times will be lower, the costs will be... I think some of the things that I'm most excited about are things that use zero knowledge for like social purposes. It's like money is one example of a thing that people derive benefit from, and privacy is important for. But like, I think governance and voting is really exciting. Some of my friends work at Rarimo in Ukraine, and they built an app called Freedom Tool. So I went to ETH Kiev with Vitalik and like learned about Freedom Tool, and maybe you talked to some of those guys. Have you interviewed that?
A bit, not that deep, so you can expand.
Yeah, sure. So Freedom Tool is really cool, and it basically allows them to provide a zero knowledge proof of a passport that you provide. So I can be like, I have a valid passport that is signed by the issuing authority, and it says I'm over 18, and so then you can have like a shadow election. And so they did this to troll the Russian elections, and they made a system that allowed you to use your legit passport and then say like, I vote against Putin or whatever, and people can verify that this works out and it's fair. And when we were there, we realized that the Russian passports and the Iranian Islamic Republic passports use the same hashing and signatures, and so we forked the Freedom Tool and made a little app called Iranians.vote, and trolled the Islamic Republic election by allowing a vote of no confidence. So you could like use your passport and then say, I vote no confidence in the Islamic Republic in their elections. So I think that is a small example of the kinds of things that'll be a lot more important in the future, where I could actually see in 10 years, like legitimate society governance infrastructure being built on chain and on zero knowledge. And I think that's one of the things I'm most excited about contributing to building. And Tornado Cash, really, it was the second zero knowledge proof deployment in human history, right? We've come very far away. Like first one ever on Ethereum, second one ever. And now we're all like, we got 10 of these, feels like it's everywhere, but it's still really powerful, and I'm still really excited by the potential impact. Like I remember in I think it was 2020, but Andrew Yang showed up at ETHDenver, and he was talking about how we're going to put voting on the blockchain, and everybody who knew what they were talking about is like, no, don't do that. That's crazy. Why would you do that? But with certain zero knowledge proof systems, like you could actually do it. You can do a good job. So excited about that part. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. So let's see how it goes. And I want to hear your take on Cypherpunk, and specifically on like neo Cypherpunk. What do you think? Like, what does it mean to be Cypherpunk today?
Yeah, did you see my quote in this Dash retweeted?
Yes,
that was on stage. Yeah,
yes.
There's this was from Amsterdam. I was hanging out with. There was like a Cypherpunk panel.
Yeah,
and people are asking like, what does it mean to be Cypherpunk? And I actually think that the words matter. Cipher meaning code and encryption, and then punk is like a group of people who seem like they're on the outskirts of society because they have something that they care about that they're trying to promote and make like a value. I call it moral entrepreneurship. Like you really think something is good for society. So being a cypherpunk means that you believe enough in like the value of encryption for society that you're willing to be like a fringe weirdo for a while society's like, this guy, like, what are they doing? You know? But then you eventually build the tools and the regulations and the knowledge and, you know, that society adopts your culture. And so now we don't really think about it too much, but we do live in some of the victory of cypherpunks that came before us, which is that like the government websites are all using encryption, HTTPS, the little green lock on the browser that makes sure, you know, the people like worked for this, they were arrested for this until we got like sane rules about it. And so I think today what it means to be a cypherpunk is the same kind of thing where, you know, private money seems like a whoa, really bad, how could you must be a criminal type of thing. But I think in the future, it'll be based on an understanding that like creating honeypots of financial information that can be hacked and exploited and abused and put people in danger are not a good idea. And maybe we don't want to have those. And so maybe the people building private money systems and so forth were correct. And yeah, so I'm into being a cypherpunk. I think one of the most interesting takes on cypherpunk was what Virgil Griffith told me. Virgil is a friend of mine who used to work at the Ethereum Foundation. He's been in prison for the last 5 years for going to the North Korea Blockchain for Peace conference, which was total scam. He gets there and it's like him and like 4 other people that he went with in like a room with 30 North Korean officials. They're just trying to figure out how to get out. So they play along and then they get out and he goes to the FBI and he's like trying to inform, you know, them of the problem. And then he hands them his phone. He's not there with a lawyer, unlocked. They go through his messages. They see him talking about sanctions stuff, not being too careful. And then they basically arrest him and imprison him for 5 years for conspiracy to violate sanctions. So Virgil went to the FBI and then tried to inform on the North Korean events that he, you know, participated in. And then they took his phone. It was unlocked. He didn't go there with a lawyer. And so he was arrested and imprisoned for 5 years for conspiracy to violate international sanctions. He just got out. Had dinner with him. And he said that the cypherpunks were not ambitious enough.
Whoa.
And it was an interesting take. And the reason he said it is because he said that the cypherpunks were obsessed with fighting the man. But they didn't get beyond fighting the man. There is an opportunity to build society better and not always feel like you're fighting. And the end game of fighting the man is like building a better man. Man, not meaning like an actual, you know, male human, but like the man as the proxy for like, you know, big bad society or something. But his idea is like cypherpunks should be like pro-social, pro-society, you know, trying to build the societies that protect people's freedoms and sovereignty and privacy in the ways that we want, not just always trying to be like anarchist rebels on the outskirts. And for somebody who just spent 5 years in prison, I thought that was a very mature take. So I'm excited to see how he, you know, reintegrates into the space.
Yeah, that's a very interesting take. But you know, like when you spend time in prison, you have a lot of time to read, to think, and like weigh things. So maybe that's something that helps in a way. What can you recommend, some like practical actions for someone who is just getting into privacy or cypherpunk and just wants to do something and make it a habit, or like start using some tools, just from 101 perspective, like easy entrance?
Yeah, I think the 101 is like, get your VPNs, get your anonymous crypto, make sure your devices, like try to secure, your devices, and try to like pay for your crypto pay for your VPN using anonymous crypto, and then be able to do that kind of thing to protect yourself. Try to push the buttons of a couple simple services, and start using those in order to learn more. I think you can read about stuff, but like using the stuff is pretty good.
Okay.
So also deposit all your ETH into privacypools.com.
We'll cut out that. No, I'm kidding.
Get one chill.
No, I'm kidding.
I'll just
No, it's all good. We are completely aligned.
Yeah,
it's they're good guys.
Yeah,
Go there.
if you're a good guy.
Terrorists not allowed. Yeah. Okay. Final take on like futuristic one. Imagine we are 30 years from now.
Yeah.
And we won. We have this internet that we imagine, like private, secure, cypherpunk, whatever.
Sure.
How would it look like, and how would life would look like? Oh my God, I'm losing my. So how would life oh my God. So how would life look like at this techno paradise?
I'm sure it'll be, an infinite garden of beautiful, social, programmable. I don't know. I think some things will be better, and some things will probably stay the same, right? Like you'll have more transparency on the chain, and so then like the questions of like how are you spending the money will like move elsewhere to the thing that doesn't have transparency. And like, programs will be audited in public, but then, and like, I think it'll be cool that there will be public infrastructure that, anybody can use. But we'll like, okay, let me try to answer this question differently. One of the things that I think would be really cool is if societies actually started building blockchain-based governments, right? So I had a, kind of a troll plan, which was like, one day I will write the program for the constitutional monarchy of, for example, Iran, right?
Yeah.
And I will like open up Solidity and be like, contract, constitutional monarchy .sol function coronation ceremony address king equals new king, and like then the permissions swap, and the new king gets to like assign NFTs to his appointed people, and those give them permissions to like move certain budgets, and like you can do the parliament as a blockchain based voting, and like see how like that sort of system of record is just like open and public, and it's just like a better system because it's not living all in a single database. And so that really excites me. How we get there, I'm not sure, but you said 30 years.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't need to figure it out. Yeah, I want like the court, on the chain, and then the court, like you see the outcomes, and like you have a budget, and the budget's like streamed to the committee, and like they get to choose, and like a lot of the government stuff like could be improved by being on chains, and like if the reason I want to write the program for the monarch, it's like you could have a king or something. But like, if they suck, then like I would put a rage quit function in there, something that's like, well, I can now leave the system. Maybe there's like a 20-30% exit tax, but I'm like, I'm done. And so it's you can bring like blockchain ideas to like upgrade societal systems, through voting, through transparency, try and solve for corruption, give people voice and exit rights. I think those are pretty cool. I'd like to live in that world.
Yeah, me too, actually. Let's go there. But how? 30 years.
30 years. Yeah, if you said 10 years, it would have been harder.
Yeah. And maybe the last one, maybe you can recommend some like cultural piece, like to exploring the Iranian culture. It's just like super rich and interesting, and it's kind of demonized a bit in media. They and now like the crazy things are happening. I'm super sorry for that as well.
Yeah, all good.
But but I feel that there is a huge imbalance in like media weight, and it would be cool if you can recommend something like for people to explore more this country, which is kind of hidden.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot. I mean, it's a country. It's been around for thousands of years. I would say, if you want to know more about like sort of recent relevant geopolitics, how the Islamic Republic came to power, who was there before that, why did, the transition happen, what do the Iranian people want now, what's going on sort of in the last 50 years, my pinned tweet on Twitter is actually a great place to start. I wrote a little history blog post, 2 parts about the last, what the West can learn from the Islamic Revolution in Iran, because politically it led to pretty bad outcome for the country, and it was weird people working together that led to that kind of situation, where it was like the very much communist aligned left, like the extreme left, and the extreme right, which was like Islamo-fascist people. These people have nothing in common except hating America and the Shah. They saw him as a puppet of the West, and so they worked together to try to overthrow the Shah. And then as soon as they did, they fought amongst themselves, and the Islamo-fascists basically took power. And Iran has not been, has been an Islamic Republic of Iran for the last 45 years. So I'm Ameen Sol on Twitter. So AMEENSOL. Check me out. Check my pinned tweet. Learn some more about Iranian history. I read a bunch of books, so you don't have to.
Yeah, thank you. So thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was a great interview. Ciao.
Cheers.